What are we even recording? Okay. Oh yeah, I know. I got some thoughts. I'm ready to share. Mofo. I'm not even putting on lip gloss. You're getting it raw today. Oh, I'm fired up. I just watched a video. I may or may not link to it below. I haven't made up my mind. It was a video from a dating coach for men, and this person was giving advice to men on how to make women think about you nonstop. How to make the woman that you want to be thinking about you nonstop, how to get her to think about you nonstop. So this video did pretty well on this person's channel, and that got me to thinking that it must be a subject that men want to know about. And so I clicked on it and I watched it, and I am enraged. The advice was so bad. It was B-A-D bad. And it made me upset. I don't know if you can tell. This is my upset face. It made me upset because you deserve better than that. We deserve better than that. Men, women, everyone, gender nonconforming folks, every person out there deserves better than the advice that was shared. In summary, the advice that this coach shared was, in order to get her to think about you nonstop, you have to play aloof, hard to get, and generally be unavailable, even going so far as to say that you sometimes need to just disappear and not respond to messages or texts, and then randomly get back, and I'll get into all of it. I'll get into it in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Why would this person make such a video? Why would people like yourself watch a video like this, how to get her to think about you nonstop? Well, I think the answer is because you're thinking about her. You met somebody, you got a crush on her, you want to plant the seed in her mind that the two of you should be together. I get that. In fact, I get that a lot. In fact, I spend a ton of time trying to think about how to capture your attention on YouTube and how to get you to think about me a lot. I'm here to get you to think about me a lot so that you can have a better sex life, though. It's not just because I want you to think about me. But bam. But for me, my core values as a person and as a coach that works one-on-one with people are pleasure, depth, science, and magic. Those are my core values. And tricking somebody by playing mind games to get them to think about you, to me, not pleasurable, not deep, not based in magic, and not based in science. That line of thinking does not jive with my way of thinking about the world. And so I decided to make my own video explaining to you how to actually make her think about you nonstop without playing stupid mind games. Are you ready? Are you ready? If you're ready, let me hear you say, yeah, 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 yeah. No, literally, if you're ready, go down in the comments right now and just write yeah, so that I know you're with me. How to get her to think about you nonstop. Number one, listen to her when she talks, and then later show her that you listened. This is stupid easy, but many men, and to be fair, most women, forget about it, and so they fail to do it. One of the things that surprised me the most when I started dating my husband, we were long distance, and we would have these conversations that were like 4 or 5 hours on Saturdays, and in them, we'd cover a lot of grounds. Obviously, you're talking like 4 to 5 hours. And later, I would see him, or he'd call me, or he'd text me, and he would remember like one little detail about that conversation, something that I said in that conversation, and it would blow my freaking mind. I was always wondering, how did he do that? How did he listen to me so clearly? He actually heard the words that I was saying and tapped in or remembered something about them and then brought that up later in conversation. That would dazzle me and make me think about him, because I also wanted to return the favor. I also wanted him to know that I was thinking about him. And then I started listening to everything that he said way more intently, because I didn't want to miss anything. I had been pretty casual about listening to him before then. And the thing that got me about this was, I told him that I was tied for prom queen. Okay, I wasn't tied. I lost by 1 vote. That's the honest to God's truth. I lost by a single vote. Still hurting. Just kidding. He remembered that later and then made a comment about it when we were casually on a date a couple weeks later. And it's still tingling in my heart that in that one little thing that I said, he proved that he heard me, that he listened to me. It made me realize that he was thinking about me on a level that was not just physical and it was not just surface level. He was actually listening to me when I spoke. It matters, gentlemen. It really does matter. Number 2, to stay on her mind all of the time, you must be unpredictable. Predictable, patterned behavior does not register as anything special. Therefore, if you do the same thing all the time, after the first couple times, she's going to recognize it as a pattern. Her brain is just going to automatically file it in stuff that doesn't change, and it's not going to stick out, and therefore you're not going to stay on her mind. So if you want to stay in her mind, you have to do things that shake it up a bit. For example, one time my husband and I were getting out of the elevator at our apartment, and we had a little bit of like a rough week. We just moved in together, and we'd had our first sort of like big conflict, and we're getting off the elevator, and he turns to me and goes, "It's a race." And then he runs full tilt down the hallway and to our apartment. By the time I even realized that we were racing, he was like halfway there. But it doesn't matter because it was so unpredictable. I still remember it to this day. Usually you just get off the elevator and you turn to go to your apartment. But he made that moment extra special and extra exciting. And it taught me something really, really important, which is that unpredictability can happen at any given time. You can walk into the restaurant and say, "I'll take one of every taco on this menu." And it probably costs you $30, right? But she'll never forget it because it's unpredictable. People don't usually go into the restaurant and ask for every single taco. Yes, he did that too. Yes, y'all, I am married to an amazing human being. I am very fortunate. I think every single day, I thank God because I got blessed by this one. Number 3, don't try to be everything to your partner. You can't be. This is an exercise in futility. You both will end up hating yourself if you try to be every little thing to her. You can't be confidant, friend, coach, priest, mom, cousin, uncle, dog, cat, assistant, boss, secretary, biggest fan, toughest critic, football, linebacker. You get my point. You can't be everything to her, and you shouldn't try to be. If you try to be everything to her, she's not going to think about you as any one thing special at all. Don't try to be everything to her, but don't pretend like you don't care about her, which is what that other coach's advice was, and that was what the nonsense BS part of it was. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a great partner. You should be totally honest with her and say that you're interested in her, you're attracted to her, you want to be in a relationship with her. But that doesn't mean you should try to be everything to her all at once. That will make you fail, and it will overexert you, and she will not think about you all the time in a positive way, although she might think about you all the time in a negative way, and that's not what we are going for here. Number 4, be awesome. Have your own life, have your own interests, be good at stuff, love the things that you do, be good at what you do. Being awesome isn't rocket science, but you'd think that it was based on how few people actually attain awesomeness. You are awesome. The things that make you awesome, you already kind of know. So continue to pursue those as you're pursuing her. And if that's like being great at cooking, continue to be great at cooking. Be awesome, because then she will think about you. You think about people that are awesome way more than you think about people that are not awesome or like neutral, right? It's not rocket science. Like, be awesome and she'll think about you because she'll think about how awesome you are. Numero 5, have great boundaries. This goes along with not trying to be everything to her. You should have limitations on how you allow other people to treat you, her and others. For example, I don't have sleepovers on weeknights because I'm really serious about my job. So you can come, we can cuddle, we can have sex, but then you'll have to go home. That's a great boundary. People that don't have boundaries do not stick out in anyone's mind, except for, oh, I bet I could totally take advantage of that person because they don't have good boundaries. Having good boundaries makes you memorable because it lets them know that you value yourself. And when you value yourself, you are something and someone of value, and she picks up on that right away. Name calling is a great example. I don't allow people to call me names. I don't associate with people that call me names. That's a really clear boundary for me. I was hanging out with my husband early on when we were dating, and one of his friends was making fun of people and calling them names. And I said, you know what? I don't do this. I don't hang out with people that do name calling, and I certainly don't allow anyone to call me names. It's not how I want to proceed. And at first, it kind of freaked him out. He was like, oh, shoot, she's not going to hang out with my friends anymore. And then he got it, and he respected me so much more for it. And it didn't mean he didn't hang out with his friends. He had good boundaries too. He was like, well, I'm going to still hang out with that person. And I said, that's cool. I'm not going to. Good. There's no hard feelings. We had a negotiation. We designed our relationship to make space for that. I no longer had to be around this guy who used language that I did not like, and he didn't feel like he was pressured to give up that friendship with that person he wanted to remain friends with. Both of us holding our grounds and having good boundaries early on in the relationship made us continue to want to be together. And guess what? There were no mind games involved. Number 6, always leave them wanting more. Do not stay until the bitter end, whether that's on a date or at a party. Do not try to ride it out and somehow fall under the mistake that the longer that you stay talking to this person, the better that it gets. So if you're the last person to leave the party, you somehow won the party. Always leave them wanting more. At a reasonable stop time, go home. Don't try to make the date last until forever unless both of you are really, 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 really into it. And even then, I still think that you should call it before you're both exhausted, or before you both have to go to work the next day, or before you literally are like eyes closing, can't stay awake. Always leave them wanting more. Now, this is not a mind game. This is a strategy for how you interact with other people. And I think there's an important distinction there. I'm not saying you should choose to leave them wanting more as a way of tricking their mind into thinking about you, although it does work that way. I'm saying you should always leave them wanting more because it sets you up for your next date. Like, if you burn someone out on you, then they're not gonna wanna see you again so quickly, right? But if you leave them wanting more, leave them with a little bit of mystery, have an amazing time, but then say, hey, I gotta get to work tomorrow morning, I'm gonna call it a night now. When you do that, not only are you setting great boundaries, not only are you giving them a little bit of mystery instead of sharing with them the whole enchilada, but you are also setting really great precedent that says, hey, you can have me, but you can't have me until you use me up. And you can't have me all the time, but we can still have a lot of fun and we can still date, interact, enjoy this party without pretending that I'm busy when I'm not. I'm just gonna go home before the bitter end, before we ride it out. I'm gonna go home. I love doing this. You will almost never catch me at the tail end of a party, because nothing good happens at the tail end of the party, because they've had too much to drink and they start having conversations that they didn't mean to have, and they start to regret stuff. Especially early on in your relationship, just leave before it gets there. Leave them with a little taste, Be the meal that they didn't finish the whole, how like when you have a meal, but you still have like a little bit of hunger, like you could eat a milkshake on the way home, like that feeling where you're like, oh, that meal was so delicious. I wish that I'd had even more of it. That is the energy that I want you to walk away from all of your dates and your parties and your social engagements with. I wish I could have had like one more bite. 7, make sure your last interaction is a good one. So when you leave the party, or you leave the date, or you leave on a trip, or you're not going to see them for another week, make sure that you end on a sweet spot. Human beings tend to remember the last thing that they experienced more than the first. So even on a vacation, you're more likely to remember the last day or the trouble you had getting home from the vacation than the trouble that you had getting there. Make sure that the last interaction that you have with a person is awesome. And if you're going to follow tip number 6 and always leave them wanting more, then you can choose to leave on a high note. You can say, wow, that was an amazing kiss. You're such a great kisser. I cannot wait to kiss you again the next time that I see you, because I've got to run. But thanks for everything. Yes! Number 8, be positive. Unless you want her to remember you and constantly be on her mind for how much you complained, be positive. Help her to even shift her mindset into positive things. If she starts complaining or being negative about something, try to turn it around and make it more positive. People love being around positive people. There is a huge lack of positivity in the world today, or there's like an abundance of false positivity in the world, but there's a lack of like real, genuine positivity. Choose not to engage in gossip. Choose not to engage in name calling and being negative and complaining. Okay, the restaurant gave away your reservation. Let's use this as an opportunity to explore the neighborhood, to go get cheap tacos. The theme of today's video is tacos, by the way. I didn't know that before I started, but it's tacos. Let's go get street meet at the taco stand down the street. Like, let's use this as an opportunity to get to know each other, this neighborhood, or whatever. Like, just turn everything into a positive experience and refuse to engage in negativity. People remember negativity way easier than positivity, but not for the right reasons. And if you are just a delight and a treasure to be around because you are positive, she will want to be around you more. Trust me. Number 9, make lasting memories by introducing risk. Think back on all the amazing memories that stick out in your head, the moments where you can remember what taste and smell and sound and everything was like in those moments. Guarantee you they all included some amount of risk, whether that was physical risk or emotional risk. Vulnerability, emotional risk, or taking big chances like going skydiving for the first time. Physical risk. You remember those things. If you want to stay on her mind after your date is over, long after you two have parted ways, then you need to make memories that last. Now, to make lasting memories, it helps you if you have beautiful scenery. It helps if it's a unique or a first-time experience. But most of all, and most importantly, if there's no risk, then it's not very rewarding. You're not likely to remember the things that happened when you were safely in your comfort zone. But especially after that sweet spot of like emotional risk has started to fade away, but you want to stay on her mind all the time, then you need to start introducing other risks. That could be like, doing something that feels a little bit dangerous together, like going rock climbing. Or it could just mean doing something that means a little bit higher risk than usual, like going on a hike together. Doing things that move you outside of your comfort zone and move her outside of her comfort zone are more likely to be memorable, and they will stay on her mind for longer. And then finally, tip number 10, be great in bed. Now, this almost goes without saying, but I included it on this list regardless because that other coach didn't even try to go there. Be great at bed. Sex matters. Being great at sex matters. Learn everything that you can about her body, her anatomy, women's bodies, women's anatomy. Watch all the videos on my channel. Purchase my masterclass on lasting longer in bed. Come when you want. Link below. Do whatever you got to do to be great at bed. That is how you will stay on her mind, because no one stays on your mind better than that guy that used his tongue to make you see God yesterday. You remember that guy. You know what I'm talking about too, because you've had those great sexual experiences where you go to work the next day and you're like, I literally can't even stop thinking about last night. That was mind blowing. And you're like texting her during the day to say like, do you remember last night? Because that was mind blowing. And she's like, yeah, I do remember last night. I've been biting my lip all morning in this meeting just thinking about it. You want to stay on her mind? Be great in the sack. That is number 1 guaranteed best way to stay on her mind for a long time. She will not be able to stop thinking about you, and she's going to be having sexy thoughts about you, and maybe she's going to want to send you some naughty pictures. Okay. To wrap, these 10 tips are how you get a woman to think about you non-stop. You don't lie, you don't play mind games, you don't pretend to be busier than you actually are, you don't purposefully ignore her text or wait 3 days to text her back or wait 48 hours or be aloof about making plans with her. Nonsense. You have integrity, you are honest, you do things that are pleasurable, deep, scientifically based, and magical. It doesn't necessarily work here. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If it's not pleasurable, do not do it. It should not be pleasurable to lie and be dishonest to people. Okay. I'm glad that we cleared all of that up. Please tell me what I missed. I'm sure I just put these lists together literally in like 5 minutes. So what did I miss? How do you stay on people's minds? What do you do in order to make sure that people remember you and think about you all the time? Or what tip on here did you think was totally bogus? Write it all in the comments. Please and thank you. And while you're done there, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you will get notified every time I watch a YouTube video that I think is bogus and I have to make a reaction video to it. Boom! I love you. You rock. Go out there and be